In this video, we'll be modeling the following object using the PartDesign workbench of FreeCAD version 0.21.2, and I'll be referring to this reference image throughout the project. And I will include a link in the description to download this image if you would like to follow along. Okay, to begin, I'll create a new project in FreeCAD. I'll make sure I'm in the PartDesign workbench. I'll create a new body, followed by a new sketch. And I'm going to be modeling this object from the top-down face first. So I will select the XY plane to start my sketch on. Okay, so I'll create the circle feature of this design. So I'll use the circle tool. And I'm going to place my mouse cursor over the origin point on our sketch so that it creates a coincident constraint. And I do have auto constraints enabled here. And so since it created that constraint for us, our circle is locked into this center point, so it can't be moved. So I'll go ahead and define the 20 millimeter diameter of this circle. I'll use the diameter constraint tool and key in 20, click OK. All right, to create this portion around the circle, I'm actually going to use the Polyline tool. This tool is handy because you can create different kinds of lines without switching tools. So by default, you can create a straight line. So I'll create a horizontal line and line it up to our y-axis here. Now, if I press the M key several times, it will toggle through different line types. And I'll use this arc line to create another line that has a constraint on our y-axis. I'll bring this line out. And then I will close this line off, or close the sketch. And then you can right-click to get out of that Polyline tool. So first thing I'm going to do before I apply any constraints on this arc is I'm going to take the center point and then select the center point of our circle and use the coincident constraint. And that locks the center point of our arc to the circle. So now we're a little bit more symmetrical here. Okay, so we can see that we have a radius of 20 millimeters on our arc. So I will use the diameter constraint tool and give our arc a diameter of 40 millimeters because we need it to be twice the radius. Okay, so that's all good there. Now, if you look at this portion of the sketch, you can see we have a 40 millimeter length between this point and this point here, which maps out to these guys, roughly. However, you'll see we don't actually have a point right here on our sketch. However, we could use one. So I'll use this tool here called Toggle Construction Geometry. Now it's basically changed all of our line tools to construction geometry lines. So if I were to apply this circle here, for example, it would be a shape I could reference on our sketch, but it wouldn't actually impact our end result. So if I were to pad this object, the circle would be completely ignored. So it's useful when you just need to add some additional points of reference for constraining your sketch here. So I'm going to use this point sketch tool, and I'm going to apply it right on our arc on this x axis here. Now you can see it's not actually constrained to the x-axis. So to correct that, I'll select this point, select the x-axis, and then I will use the constraint point onto object constraint. And so now that point is locked to both the x-axis as well as our arc. So that's perfectly centered. So now I can use this reference point to create our 40 millimeter distance. So I'll select this point, then select this point, and apply a horizontal distance constraint of 40 millimeters. All right, we're fully constrained on that portion of the sketch, so I'll close out of there. Then I will use the pad tool to pad it. The default of 10 millimeters is exactly what we need. So we're good there. So now I'll go ahead and create this face of the object. So once again, in our PartDesign workbench, I'm going to click Create Sketch. And I'm going to create this sketch on the XZ plane. So now that we're in here, first thing I'm going to do is toggle out of the construction geometry mode because I was still in that from the last sketch. And I will instead use the Create External Geometry tool, which allows me to reference geometry from our previously padded object for use in our new sketch. So now I've got these 2 points here and here, and I will use that as the starting point to create the outline of this object. And I'm going to ignore these filleted portions of the sketch for now. I'll come back and do those after we pad our object. So once again, I'll use the Polyline tool. And I'll create a vertical line, a horizontal line. Then I will press M on my keyboard 3 times until I'm in the arc tool. And then I'll create another line here with another arc. And you'll notice on the line that comes out of an arc, it's always going to be tangential to that arc. So in this case, it's not perfectly horizontal. Real quick, I'll just close off this sketch before I forget to do that. So that's fully closed. I'll right click to get out of the Polyline tool. Now this line, you see it's not quite horizontal, it's angled. So to correct that, I'll just select the line and then apply a horizontal constraint. I'll do the same for this vertical line with a vertical constraint. Okay, so we need a circle in our sketch now. So I'll go ahead and do that. Create a circle. And in this diagram, you can see that the center point of the circle is in line with the kind of top face of the other object we had just padded. So I will use this reference point that we created, and then I'll select the center point of our circle. And in order to align these, I will actually do a vertical distance constraint and give it 0 millimeters, which means there's no distance between these two on the vertical axis, so it's perfectly aligned. Okay, and we need a 20 millimeter diameter on this circle. So I'll apply 20 millimeters. All right, now if we look at our sketch, we can see from our center point to this point here, we have a distance of 20 millimeters. And from our center point to this point here, we have a distance of 20 millimeters. So I'll go ahead and define that now. I'll take this point and this point, do a horizontal distance of 20 millimeters. And then I'll take this point and this point and do a vertical distance of 20 millimeters. Okay. Okay, and we can also see that the total length of this object, or this portion of the object, is going to be 40 millimeters long from this point to this point, which matches up to roughly these 2 points on this other face. So I'll select this one and give it a vertical horizontal, or excuse me, and give it a horizontal distance constraint of 40 millimeters. Okay, and then I will do the same for the vertical portion of 50 millimeters from this point to this point. Give it a 50 millimeter vertical constraint. Drag that through. Okay, so we're looking pretty good here. You can see that our arcs in the corner, we don't have these radii listed here. So I will go ahead and kind of just eyeball it for this model. I do know that if I give it a 20 millimeter diameter, that matches the 20 millimeter diameter of our circle here in the center, and that seems to match up pretty well. I'll go ahead and give this one the same. Okay, and our sketch is fully constrained, so I can close out of here. And now I'll go ahead and pad this object. And you'll notice that it padded in this direction. Of course, we need it to be symmetrical here So rather than padding in that direction, we want it to pad symmetric to plane. So if we click this little checkbox here, you can see it's now symmetrical. So it's padding 5 millimeters in this direction, 5 millimeters in this direction, totaling our 10 millimeter length. However, if you look at our sketch here, you can see we need a 20 millimeter width on this portion. So we will adjust that to 20 millimeters. Click OK. And again, I just click 0 to set my view back to this kind of default orthographic view here. Okay, so we're almost done. We just need to create these fillets. And fortunately, this is pretty easy. I'll just select this line here, click fillet, and I will give it a 10 millimeter radius. Now, it's not actually defined on our diagram here what radius this fillet needs to be. However, if you reference these lines here, which represent the walls or the sides of the circle portion here, you can see that it matches up with the end of our fillet pretty well. So I'm just going to call that 10 millimeters. And currently I've only applied the fillet to that top face. So I'll click select and then grab this bottom line too. Click preview. And we're looking good. I'll click OK. Okay, well, that completes this model. Thanks for watching. Hope it was useful to you. And I just want to give a quick thank you to everyone who has commented and subscribed on my previous videos. The feedback has been awesome. So I do plan on uploading more videos, so feel free to subscribe and stick around if you'd like to check those out. Thanks.